Everyone's doing well. Welcome to this is our sixth episode of the REI 101 call. A lot of good feedback. We've been posting these on YouTube, so hope everyone's enjoying that. Hope that everybody's learning something from these calls. We got people driving, we got people at work, we got people that are sending their AI note takers in their place. That's okay. We have no proprietary information to share, just the clues that successful people have left behind. We stand on shoulders of giants, and this is what this call is about. This is about learning from others, contributing, teaching, sharing our mistakes as well as our victories, because we learn just as much from our failures as we do from our successes. Probably more. I would say we learn more when we fail than we do when we succeed. So we want to welcome everyone on the call. We give Albert, my co-host, is having a tech issue, so we're going to give him a moment to jump on. But today we're going to talk about identifying, sourcing, and keeping track of the deals that we have. Albert, how are you doing today, sir?
1 second. Yeah, there we
It's good
go.
to have you.
Yeah,
There
I'm
you
I'm
are.
doing good. I'm on my phone right now because my computer is was giving me some problems, and as soon as that comes up, I'll jump on there. But I'm doing well, man.
Good to see you. Glad you're here with us. So we're talking about finding the deals, lead generation. So today's going to be like the first episode where I'm going to really uh, lay out a call to action. There's going to be an action step. There's going to be homework. You're on this call. You're watching these videos. You're watching these replays because you have some type of interest in investing in real estate. And we've talked about some of the interests, some of the benefits of investing in real estate. And then today we're going to talk about taking action. Even if you have no money, even if you have millions of dollars, this action steps. These are action steps that everyone should be taking, whether you're first time beginner, you're curious, or you have tons of experience. So, Albert, do you have any deals you want to talk about, or any interesting things that have come up in the last couple of days in the real estate investing world that you wanted to share before we get started?
Yeah. So like just a quick update. Our new construction projects are moving at a very good pace. Since we broke ground really a couple months ago. We've already got plumbing roughed in. I mean, these are ground up constructions. Like we basically had a pile of dirt 2 months ago. Now we have two single family homes, 2-story single family homes, uh, up, sided, roof sheathing on, plumbing rough in done, electrical and HVAC rough in happening this week. So it's moving pretty good. And I got a piece of land in 77033 under contract last week. So I'm waiting on the title commitment and the survey to come back there. I'll share that with my builder and the architect, to make sure, we're not gonna really have any issues building. I think we're gonna build a duplex on this one. So that's pretty
Nice.
exciting. And that's the most exciting thing for me in the last week.
So three development deals that you're working on?
Building 3 houses, yeah, I guess you could say that. So the two single
Okay.
families and the duplex.
Question number one, and if you're on the call, you have a question, you're welcome to come off mute or you can leave a chat in the chat box. Question number one, knowing you have done vacation rentals, mainly single family homes, some fix and flip, some buy and hold, what what uh what shifted your interest to buying dirt?
So it doesn't necessarily have to be just dirt. The first one we did had a house on it, but um, actually our business partner had talked to me about new construction. He was going to take a mentorship program with it,
Hmm.
and basically he's just like, I'll offload everything I learned from it to you. I've always been a little intimidated from ground up construction just because of the additional time and the cost associated with it.
Hmm.
But this process that we've been utilizing and the builder we've been using for the two single family homes, it's just been going so much smoother. There was a lot of lead up time to get to breaking ground, that I didn't know about. I had to educate myself, and we had to actually experience and go through. There was a lot of expense up front too that I wasn't, savvy about. But again, we had such a good margin on there. It's not really that big of a deal. We're still going to make money on the deal. But what switched though really is when you're doing ground up construction, especially if you're in an area where they're already doing it,
Hmm.
is like when you rehab a property, you're opening up walls, you're finding termite damage, wood rot, you've got foundation problems, like all of these things that can add time and money to your budget. With ground up construction, if you have a builder that's building in this area, we haven't had anything over. There's been no overages at this point, and
So
we're
you've been in
probably
budget. You're talking. You're
75%
in
done.
budget.
Yeah.
What about time frame? How have you done with the time frame?
Yeah, so time frame, time frame again was a little bit slower because of we had to do a replat, there was soil testing, that all that stuff took a while, and then the permit process really wasn't that long. It didn't take that long. And then we
Hmm.
had a delay of about a month to a month and a half to secure funding because we were going to use a hard money lender at first, and then that kind of fell through at the last minute, and so we were in a holding pattern while we were closing out one of our other projects, and so we
So
used private money.
did you close on the land before you started
Yeah,
before you got the
we closed on
permitting and
that
the
back in September.
so you needed financing for the development, like you used
Correct.
separate
Yeah, we
financing.
had
Okay.
financing. We had cash for the land, and then we needed financing for the for the construction. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to your first deal because this is we're going to segue into our topic.
Hmm.
Um, it sounds like benefits of doing new construction is it's lot less surprises, correct? There's
So
a
far, yeah, yeah,
you're
definitely.
not dealing with tenants, you're not dealing with, dead bodies in the wall, you're not dealing with mold, you're not dealing with any type of damage that may not be known. Um, what we're going to talk about sourcing, like how did you find these deals? Did you use the same method for all three? Are you using a variety of different methods to find these pieces of property?
No, so the first one for the two single family homes, we found that on the MLS.
Hmm.
And just a really quick story is I saw it on the MLS. It was in a zip code because we talked about like focusing on markets, right? So it was in a zip code that I'm interested in. So I'm not looking all over the place, right? And I saw this property, and I first saw it as a rehab project. And
Hmm.
I've been trained through our mentorship programs to look for properties that have 5,000 square foot lots or bigger because I was
Okay.
thinking it's a rehab, we can add square footage or build a garage apartment or something. That was my thought process. But when I looked at the listing photos, there was a newer like townhome next door. All right. When I looked at the street view, which was a year prior, it was an empty field. And that immediately it was like a light switch went off. And I thought, maybe I can build here.
Hmm.
And so then I started looking all around for comps that were built since 2023. Because if we bought it in 2024, I was looking how many properties have sold since 2023. I'm sorry, that were constructed 2023 or newer. And there were like 9 or 10 of them, and just in this little area. I'm like, cool, people are building here. I'm not going to go reinvent the wheel. And we actually took one of the properties that sold for a high value and sent that to our architect and basically
Yeah.
said, this is what we want to do. So we're really just doing the same thing other people are doing. But that's what really kind of flipped the switch for me was
There's a
seeing
proof.
that
There was a proof of concept there, and you kind of accidentally stumbled upon it.
already.
Javier is asking, can you finance the land and the construction? Uh, yes, you
Mhm.
can. There's different terms and different ways you can do that. You can also finance them. There are some products where you can finance them together, and
Mhm.
sometimes you want to finance them as separate. Um, you did the land as cash, and then you got private money
Yeah,
for the
so
construction.
that just makes it it really depends. You can do the land and the construction together. You might just have to bring some money, right? They might require you to put like 10-20% down. So you'll have
Yeah.
to bring some money. So when we purchased the land, that was like that was like our down payment. And then we were supposed to get 100% financing on the construction, but then our hard money lender just threw one particular requirement that killed that deal with them. And then we had some private money that was going to be freed up soon after that, but we just had to wait until that project, that particular deal closed out. And once that was done, our private lender wired the funds directly to our account, and then we went from there and wired funds to our builder and got started.
Right. So we're kind of in an interesting time in our market. Um, if you watch our market update that we posted this morning, you'll see that property values are actually increasing. In general, property values are increasing. However, there's a much smaller percentage of properties that are actually selling. So we have a high number of inventory, a surplus of inventory. So the market still feels fairly unhealthy right now because properties are sitting. We're seeing a lot of listings expire. We're seeing a lot of listings terminate, which means that there's a lot of sellers that are wanting to sell, um, but they're just not pricing things at the right point. And when we see that properties are priced well, they sell. They sell for a healthy amount, so they're not selling at a discount. So the last 2 months, values have increased in the Houston market. So the market has shifted, but we all know when there's a shift in the market, that means there's an opportunity shift. And Albert, it sounds like you've really taken advantage of a strategy, one of the strategies we talked about, just buying some dirt and building on it, and you just kind of stumbled upon it unintentionally after doing some due diligence, correct? So did you find all three of these properties on the MLS? I think I lost you. Having mute. So let's talk about where these sources. So here's your homework for today. Your homework is to start analyzing deals, and we're going to give you some tools and some tips. You're going to come up with a system where you can start analyzing deals. So number one, Albert mentioned, is the MLS. This is probably the easiest place to get started. If you don't have a real estate agent, that's probably the easiest way to get started. Find an investor-friendly real estate agent, or just get on there yourself and start running some searches and just start looking at properties. I would recommend for anybody who's seriously interested in getting into this world to put this on your calendar, at least 30 minutes a day. Or all you do is look at deals. So, number one, um, just look on the MLS. You can look on, if you're in the Houston area, look at HAR. Every market, and a lot of people don't understand this about the MLS, but every market in the United States has their own MLS. Agents will list properties on that MLS, and then the information from those MLSs will feed into your Zillow, your Trulia, your Redfin, your Open Door, all those secondhand MLSs. So start with your market's local MLS because you can find a lot of properties on there, and just start analyzing deals. Start looking at deals. Uh, Maybe you're not ready to buy, maybe you are. Start looking now. Start getting used to running the numbers on it. So, and then there's the whole off-market strategy. I think Albert's still having some challenges with his technology.
I'm back. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I had to just switch to my phone. You were breaking up, and I didn't want to mess up your video here, so I'm back for good.
you're good. You're good. So you said number one is MLS. So you found all three of those on the MLS?
No, I mean we too bad we only have 45 minutes because I've got really good stories for these. But so the first one was on the MLS, and I kind of described to you how we found that. And then the second one, which is actually a vacant lot, it was sent to me originally by a wholesaler back in February.
Okay.
And I was negotiating with the wholesaler, putting in an offer, and they were going back and supposedly going back and forth with the seller. But I felt like the seller was being wishy-washy and didn't really
Hmm.
want to sell. And so I dropped it. I followed up with the wholesaler a few weeks later and asking if they assigned the contract. They never replied back because the listing was no longer showing on their inventory email that they send out
Okay.
daily. Okay.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and did a Skiptrace and found the owner, and I started calling the owner, but I
Hmm.
never got in touch with him. And so I was talking to my mentor last week and was talking about a couple lots in this area, and it reminded me of that one. And I decided to just give that guy another call, and he answered the phone. So he answered the phone. So this was off market. He answered the phone. We basically came to a verbal agreement on the offer. I sent him my 2-page purchase and sell agreement, and he signed it through DocuSign, and it went to the title company the next day. And I paid my
Boom.
earnest money, and now we're under contract. So
That
that
was
was
the
off
second.
market.
What was the third one?
So the first one has 2 houses. So we're building
Okay.
3 houses. Yeah, yeah, 3 structures.
Okay.
So
Nice.
those are just for my more recent ones, and even the house that we're flipping in the Heights, that's another good story, and we can kind of go like as we go through this call. The one that we purchased in the Heights, we purchased that on market on the MLS.
Okay. So another one for the MLS.
Yeah, and I
So
find them all kinds of ways.
so a lot of people say that, you can't find good deals on the MLS. Everybody's looking at the MLS, and a lot of times it's the glasses that you wear. It's the way you look at those properties because I like to tell people great deals are not found. They have to be created.
Hmm.
So there has to be some negotiation in there with the MLS
Yeah,
properties that you. I mean, that
yeah,
goes for wholesale is the same way too.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hear the same thing. Like people say the MLS is dead. By the time you see properties on the MLS, so many other eyeballs have seen it. And you hit the nail on the head, Austin. You have to make the deal on the MLS. You have to be creative sometimes. You also can't be intimidated by putting in your offer. And
Hmm.
working with an investor friendly agent that's willing to write your offer. I don't believe there's anything such as a lowball offer. It's just your offer, whether it's
Yeah.
low or high, or it's really in the eyes of the person selling, but it's just the numbers that make sense for you, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that seller is going to go cash your check and they're going to be off into the sunset, into the next chapter of
Right.
their lives. And you're inheriting all the issues with that property, which you already knew about, right? But at the end of the day, you have to make an offer that makes sense for you. So what we train our students really quick on how to make deals on the MLS is we look for larger lots because we want to either add square footage or add an additional unit to the property. A
Hmm.
lot of investors, rehabbers, flippers, they just want to come in and they're making an offer based off of the existing square footage. And now, yes, they're going to be sending that seller, that homeowner, a bunch of low offers. All right.
Right.
But on the Heights property, for instance, we added 600 square feet to 1,000 square foot home. So that's a pretty big addition. But
Hmm.
because of that, that pushed our ARV, or the after repair value, up from like 600, 650,000 to 750, 800,000. So our
Nice.
offer when we made it was much more competitive than those probably offering them 200, 250. We got it for 365, you
There you
know?
go.
So
Excellent.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would say when you're looking at those deals, a couple questions to ask yourself is number one, what is the what is the after repair value? If we brought this property up to its maximum potential, what could we sell it for? Number one. Number two, what could we lease this for? What could we lease this for?
Mhm.
You're looking for cash flow at that point. Other things you want to look at is after that, potentially rehab costs, but I wouldn't start with the rehab costs. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make. They just start thinking about how much money they need to put into the property without truly recognizing the property's full
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah.
By the way, the house that we looked at last Monday on the call, I went and walked that property the next day. I actually put an offer in for 300,000 and it sold for 331,000.
Wow.
So we actually found a deal that made sense, but it it had multiple bids and
Yeah.
somebody bid $31,000 over. So there are hot deals. So those are the first two sources. The MLS is number one, wholesale deals number two, and then you start looking at like niche sources. So we have some guys looking at pre-foreclosures. So this is a fun thing to do. It does take more time, but the easiest way to get started with pre-foreclosures, the best way, if you have no idea and you really want to learn about pre-foreclosures, the first thing I would say is go to the auction. Every county has a pre-foreclosure auction the
Mhm.
first Tuesday of every month. You go to the Harris County pre-for tax auction. It's they had the May one already passed, but there's a June one coming up. Um, just plan on going to that. It's a fun thing to do. Bring lunch, bring some friends, go meet people. That's a great place to meet people. That's a great place to network and to see. There are some people that are finding some really, really good deals through those means. A couple months ago, I went to Brazoria tax auction. That's a much smaller one, and I met a guy that he. I talked to him for about an hour. He was just telling me about all these great deals that he found off of the steps of the courthouse in Brazoria County. Now, here's the challenge with the tax auctions, like pre-foreclosure auctions. You pretty much have to have cash in hand. Have you had any success with with auctions, Albert? Has that been a strategy that you've used?
No. I mean, there's different kinds of auctions. You got tax auctions, you have HOA auctions, you've got the mortgage auction. We tried once, and we had to wire funds to auction.com, have it there like the day before, and then you bid on one of the deals, and I think we got outbid. So then, and then they spend like a day or two to wire things back to you, but we didn't really like that process. But I agree with you. Going to the auction, even if you're not going to buy anything, especially the Harris County auction, is an excellent place to network and meet private lenders. Because
Yeah,
a lot of times people are there to fund deals, or the deal that they're there to fund doesn't come to fruition, but
yeah.
just they've got multiple booths and vendors and lenders, like, all kinds of people out there that you can go and network with, even if you're not going to purchase a property. But network is a great place to network once a month, every first Tuesday of the month, in the United States. Really, in every county in the United States that has an auction, that's the same day, same time. So that's pretty good. We tend to try to get, we've purchased several pre-foreclosures. We try to
Hmm.
get them before they go to auction. I think we've probably purchased
Yeah.
maybe six of them, and we're able to save the homeowner from foreclosure, and then try to give them some cash back into their pocket for moving expenses, or to help them on to the next phase in their lives. So we try to get them before auction.
So number four, I would say pre-foreclosure. That would be a completely different strategy. The number three is going to the auction. So
Right.
with number four on the pre-foreclosure side, there's several different ways, and we can kind of hit on all these different ways. I was telling anybody listening, just pick two or three strategies today. Focus on that for 90 days, or maybe forever. But when it comes to the pre-foreclosure methods that you've used to get in contact with the owners.
You're asking me. It's a really long one too. It's not
Yeah.
a long explanation, but it's very time consuming. I could definitely be more efficient in doing it. So I go particularly to Harris County and Galveston counties, the clerk's website,
Okay.
because every day, especially for Harris County, it's every day, but Galveston, it's every several days, depending on how many filings they have.
Hmm.
They upload the pre-foreclosure documents to the county clerk's website. And I
Right.
go there and click on the document, find the owner through Skiptracing, and then I'll either cold call or cold text. How can I be more efficient? Well, I can pay somebody to do all that. I can pay a VA
Right.
to go in. They do have lists that you can buy, but what
Hmm.
I have found is those lists are usually outdated.
Yeah.
Even if they're outdated by a week, you're a week behind people who are doing this a lot faster than you are.
So you're talking about these third-party lists where these companies specialize in putting these
Right.
pre-foreclosure lists together
Yeah.
that give the phone numbers and the addresses.
Yes,
When
they
that
do all the
information
work
is,
for you, but
yeah,
they tend to be behind, at least
that
a week.
information's free.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
it's
free.
it's
You
on
just either
the
have to do the
county.
work, or you can pay a VA to do it for you.
So how do we get in contact with these sellers? So you run a skip trace and you call them.
Yeah, I run a skip trace through this free website called TruePeopleSearch.com, and there's another one that I pay for. It's called REI Skip, but I use TruePeopleSearch.com first, and it'll come back. You already know who the owner is by the document
Hmm.
that was filed. You plug in the address, and it'll show you everyone that lived at that address, and I don't know how far back it goes, and then you click on the owner, and then it'll come back with a lot of publicly available information: email addresses, phone numbers, cell phone numbers, nearest relatives, all of their past addresses. Um, and then you can pay for some other data, but that's all free. And then you just use something. I use Google Voice because I can do it right here from my computer, and I can just control C, control V. I'm just copying and pasting the same message to people, and there's definitely an art with cold calling and cold texting people in this situation. A lot of them
Right.
are very upset or emotional, angry, just a lot of negative emotions around the situation. So, you definitely have to have some tact when you're contacting these people and trying to empathize with the situation. We always lead with wanting to help. And it's
Right.
like, well, what are you trying to help me with? I can provide you free information. I
Hmm.
can I can call your lender with you on three-way to see what kind of options you have to try to save your house. And if all else fails, I can be an outlet for you to try to get you a very fast and fair offer, because a lot of these people, the auction is as soon as 2 weeks away.
Right.
Sometimes it's a little bit further away, but they don't have a lot of time, and they need to save their credit, and they need to get some cash in their pocket, and we can try to help them do both of those things. But that's how we lead.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. When you talk to these people, how often a are they aware, or what percentage of people you talk to actually don't even realize they're in a foreclosure situation, and how often are they hostile, in denial, tell you to go F off? Like,
Yeah.
what is the response you get when you call these guys?
Well, I will tell you, probably 99% of everything we send out, there's no response. And they're either like an ostrich putting their head in the sand and just hoping that the problem goes away, or they could be working with someone, they could be working with the bank, because they're probably starting to get bombarded with texts
Hmm.
and emails and phone calls. And again, it's a very stressful situation. I would say probably the ones that do respond, 95% of them are don't call me again, or they'll just say stop or remove me from your list, or any version of that progressively worse, right? That's about 95% of the
Yeah.
responses that we get. And then the other 5% probably don't know, or
Right.
say they don't know, or
Right.
or they'll call me. Like, I had a lady call me last week. She just called me. She got the text and she called me, which is rare. And she knew about the situation, but she had been working with her bank and wasn't aware that the bank was continuing with the auction.
Hmm.
And I told her, I was like, I can email you, this document was filed yesterday. And she was just like, well, the bank was telling me they were stopping it and blah 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 blah. I was like, well, if you want me to call the bank with you, I'm available. I don't send them a contract, Austin. I don't send them anything to sign. I just genuinely want to help them first. And I've helped
Yeah.
probably half a dozen people save their homes, and I never talk to them again. And I
Yeah.
don't get anything for it.
You have to build trust with them
Yeah.
before you can expect them to do any type of business, because you're just some random guy
Yeah.
calling. So I have four sub strategies to the pre-foreclosure. So once you have that list, name, phone number, you can analyze those deals. Do you analyze the deals before you call them? I wanted to ask this question first.
So I don't analyze it like run numbers, but I do look at the location in like Street View. If it is like, again, in Spring, and well, typically it'll say Spring, Hockley, Humble, Atascocita, those areas I typically don't even go after, or try to text or whatever. But if they're in areas that I can drive to within 45 minutes, then I'm gonna reach out to them. And I'm kind of
Right.
looking at the condition of the house. If it really looks like something that, I don't even want to waste their time wholesaling stuff like that, because those people don't have time. So I've met people that try to wholesale pre-foreclosures, and it's like you're just doing that homeowner a disservice. Like, you're hurting the
Right.
owner. you're hurting them
Yeah.
more, right? So it has to be a property that I'm willing to buy. Like I'm willing to stop the foreclosure
Got it.
on. And me personally, if it is just too bad, like really, really awful looking, every investor is going to go after stuff like, or a lot of them are going to go after stuff like that. I'm not if it's a pre-foreclosure. I'm just
Hmm.
not because there's just I prefer something newer or that has more equity. Three of the pre-foreclosures foreclosures we stopped, we converted to subject to. So they had almost no equity. They purchased properties within the last 2 or 3 years. We were able to take over their loan subject to and put some money in their pocket. Two of them we converted to a rental. I'm living in one of them right now. So there's different strategies, but I don't run numbers until someone's telling me they're willing to negotiate or sell the property.
I asked that question because it's time consuming to
It
analyze
is.
deals. And if you have a large list and you know that you're only going to get somewhere between like 2% to 5% of any type of response of a sign of life from that list, it probably doesn't make sense to really run those numbers until
Mhm.
you get on the call, have a couple of questions. If you don't know what to say, that would be a topic that we can say for another episode. But two books I would recommend reading if you want to get more comfortable on the phones is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, and I'll send a link to that in
Mhm.
the email. And then look at the book Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. Those are the two, in my opinion, the best books for negotiating. I want you to hit on the subtopics of pre-foreclosure. So you talked about calling, you talked about texting. We haven't mentioned mailers, and we may not have time to hit mailers, but the big one that this probably has possibly the highest conversion rate is door knocking. Have you had any success just going up and knocking on the door? And
Yeah.
did you have a gun put in your face when that happened?
No, not that extreme. I haven't done a lot of door knocking. I've just done a little bit. So, what I'm gonna tell you is more anecdotal than like the norm. The door knocking that I did complete or did attempt, it was more like the homeowners were hostile. The
Okay.
homeowners were like, "What are you doing here? Get off my porch. I don't want to talk to you, or I'm taking care of this and whatnot."
Yeah.
And then a lot of people just don't answer. And then I have like these little, I don't know if you can, I have like these little mailers. I don't know if you can see that. They're
Okay.
like they're handwritten, so they're like they're I'm not mailers. They're door hangers. And
Yeah.
so I'll carry these, and I got found a company that makes it. They use a machine to do cursive writing, and basically says, "Hey, I'd like to buy your house. My name's Alberto. Give me your, here's my number, right?" So if
Okay.
I'm door knocking, I'll leave that on the door as well. You know.
Okay. Okay. Well, there's a good. So number one, MLS. Number two, wholesaling. Number three, auction. And then we talked about pre-foreclosure. Let's talk about driving for dollars. So
Mhm.
we've heard that phrase a lot. That's basically just looking for dilapidated properties. It may
Yep.
or may not be. Sometimes they are in pre-foreclosure, and you don't know it until you get there. But what signs? What catches your attention about a property? Have you had any luck with that?
So let me see. Have I had any luck? Yes, absolutely. So the house
I
we
know
we,
you have.
we yeah, there was a house next door to that house we were purchasing on the MLS. The house next door had boarded up windows, high grass, and they had a mailbox that was stuffed with mail.
Yeah.
Those are like some telltale signs when you're driving for dollars, you're looking for stuff like that. Or delayed maintenance, right? Maybe their roof fascia boards are all rotted out, or they have a blue tarp on their roof or
Hmm.
something like that.
Hmm.
And you're typically driving for dollars in areas that you want to invest in. You know,
Right.
some of them are very competitive areas you might be wanting to invest in, but maybe some of them are more localized to you. That list that you build driving for dollars, it's a very niche list, and there's a very good chance if you're just in a niche area that no one else is calling this homeowner. So that's like
Right.
a very good benefit of driving for dollars is you could be the only person this homeowner's negotiating with.
Last strategy I want to throw on there, and there's a lot. And if you have any other strategies, if you want to comment in the chat box if there's anything you want us to hit or anything we forgot. Feel free to put it in there. But uh, one of our best sources of off-market properties, believe it or not, is just networking. We got a deal that was two doors down from an open house that we were hosting. We had a listing, and you mentioned being in a saturated market, but sometimes all you have to do is just be in the right place at the right time and just keep doing, you know, the path is in the math. The path is in the math, right? So the more people you talk to and get better at having these conversations, deals start just kind of just popping up, don't they? So
Absolutely.
uh,
Yeah.
we sold a house. We sold one house off market, and the lady was so grateful that we sold her house so quickly to an investor that she referred us to a family member that was in the same situation, and the house had like mold in it, very much deferred maintenance, and just talking to people. So I want to give a couple of tips. I want to kind of switch gears. So here's the sources of the deals, but none of that matters unless you have a system, and this is critical. If you don't have a system for keeping properties and people organized, uh, most of your efforts are going to go to waste. So I'm going to talk about what we do as far as keeping people. So people are first, in my opinion. So every single person, and if you ever listen to the story about how me and Albert became friends and
Mhm.
how we ended up doing business, it's a testament of follow up and not getting discouraged because Albert rejected me very hard in the beginning. So, but there were other opportunities that came out of meeting, and because I didn't get butthurt, because I didn't take. First of all, number one, don't take stuff personally.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot more no's than yeses. That's the nature of business. So put your ego aside. Your, people are not rejecting you. They may be rejecting the fact that that they need you. They may be in denial. They may just be they just may not need your service, or maybe they feel like they have another plan. That's okay. What oftentimes what's going to win the deal is if you have a way to stick in their mind. So I've heard, I want to say it was you, somebody had your card or a flyer of yours, and you had spoken with them several times, and it was months later they got kind of encouraged or they got
Yeah.
motivated, and and because they had your flyer on their counter, you were the only person they called.
Yeah. That's true. That was the
So
pre-foreclosure. Yep.
okay, I remember that story because it's like if I say shoe brand, everybody says Nike. You may not be wearing Nikes. I'm not wearing shoes at all, but it's because they've branded themselves so well that they stick in your mind. So the first thing I would do is get a CRM. I think everybody should have some type of CRM. If you need an idea for a free CRM, I would recommend HubSpot. If anything, make it a habit when you meet people to save their information. And I know this sounds really basic, but if you become very religious about doing this, it will pay off. Save their information. Get their first name and their last name. Make a note where you met them and how you connected. Get their email address and phone number. Very basic, but I personally have lost out on some pretty big opportunities because I failed to write their number down or I failed to email them back. So have a way, some type of container where you can save their information. Your phone may not be good enough because number two, you have to have a system in place that's going to prompt you to take action on that contact. So simple in a CRM, you're going to set tasks. So you may call somebody, and the magic number is eight. You need to have eight interactions with another human being before they agree to do any type of business with you. So if you call someone, call an off market property, and they're like, "No, thank you," that's only the beginning. So you haven't even scratched the surface there. So you've got to have a way to follow up And you got to have a way to make multiple touches. You got to have a systematic way of doing this. You also got to have a way to tie them to the property as well. So have a name, have an address. You may have an address without a name. You may be searching for that name. You still need to put that address in your system without a name and just have a way to follow up. Albert, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, just I think CRM and systematizing your way to communicate with leads, that I've been the same, where I've lost deals, where I made initial contact with someone, and someone that I know or is familiar with, like an acquaintance or someone, bought the property, and bought the property higher than the offer that I was willing to make on the property. But
Hmm.
because I failed in following up with that homeowner, that was on me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can't stress that enough, is having a way to follow up with people and being front of mind with people. And those follow up touches are calls, in person meetings, mailers, text. I'm checking up on you. I'm still working another lead for an empty lot, a few doors down from the one that I have now under contract, and I'm just calling the guy, checking on him. Hey, how's it going?
Hmm.
You know, have you built the house yet on that lot? No. Okay. If you need a builder, let me know. I'm trying to add some value to this guy too, right? But just following up with him, and now my follow-ups might be a little bit less frequent, but I still want to keep following up with this guy. And now if we close on this property across the street, because he lives across the street from
Yeah.
this property, he's gonna see me there now. And so I'm gonna take that opportunity to watch whenever they're outside, to go strike up a conversation with them, and maybe I can get the property a few doors down too.
Boom. Yeah. I mean, I look at some of the people that are on this call. Liv and Meta are on the call. She called me probably 2018, 2019 about a property that I had listed. And I could have easily said, this is the amount, and let me know if you want to buy it. But that's not how that relationship continued. We had happy hours, so inviting people to events is really easy. They ended up coming to one of our very first happy hours, like before, I want to say it was before COVID. It was that long ago. And then we just stayed in relationship. We became better friends, and we eventually did a deal together. And they're here, they're learning years later. So um, every contact, you never know how that's going to play out, but it's important just to remain present. So we got 2 minutes left. Any questions? You are welcome to come off mute. What are your takeaways, your ahas? What are your questions? What actions are you going to take home today and get started on today? Take action. What are you going to do? I know what I'm going to do.
I know what I've been wanting to do for the past 3 months, but I haven't done it yet.
Oh, what's that?
So I've got this VA company been calling me for 3 months, and they're following up. They're calling me,
There you
and
go.
they're being respectful of my response to them. But I'm not, and they know I'm not shutting them down completely. So I'm leaving the door open, because I do want to hire a VA company to make cold calls for me, on specific lists, because I think like that's valuable, and at least they start filling my funnel. But I haven't done it yet, and I haven't pulled the trigger because I haven't had time to work that system, because I have to provide a list. So next week, not this week, because I've got to catch up on accounting, bookkeeping stuff this week. But next week, I've got in my calendar to call these guys back and really deep dive into what they're offering, and then figuring out how to fit that into my marketing budget. But that's
That's
what I'm
so
going.
ironic. It,
Yeah.
it it's so ironic how many of these VA companies are so poor at generating interest and following up, but that's
Hmm.
what they're
Yeah.
selling. Anyways, Liv said organized system, number one. Number two, multiple contact success rate. Yeah, I would add track those numbers too. I would make it a goal. Talk to 5 people or call 5 people every day or send out 5 text messages.
Hmm.
We have a standard on our team. It's 20 25 contacts per day, but we do this full time. This may be a part-time thing, but you'd be surprised if you have a call list. what you can accomplish in 30 minutes if you just get rid of the distractions, build a bunker, get to your desk, make sure everybody knows, hey, for this 60 minutes, all I'm going to do is just work on these contacts. Everybody should be doing this as
Yeah.
well. So,
Yeah. It's good.
any last words?
Oh, on our coaching call last Thursday, uh, someone had just went back to her W-2, but as a contractor. And she's been doing real estate. She has like a retail construction or remodeling company as well that she
Mhm.
she she owns and manages. And she was just trying asking people like, how do I manage all these things, right? And I
Yeah.
just gave her like the worst answer, but it's something that I respond to. It's like that Shia LaBeouf like meme and video where he's just like, just do it, right?
Stop
You
thinking
have
about
a
it.
goal. You have a goal. I need to listen to that as well. Is just do it, right? We
Yeah.
all have the same number of hours in the day, and you have the full spectrum of people that are highly successful and the people that are not successful at all. And
Yeah.
the real difference is those people that are highly successful chose to take action, right?
I love
And
that.
that's what
That's
it's
a
about.
very good that's a very good segue to next week's topic. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about the mindset of a millionaire investor. We'll be giving away a copy of the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, one of the greatest handbooks, tools for real estate investing. We're going to be talking about limiting beliefs. We're going to be talking about truth versus fiction, fact versus myth. And we're going to be talking about some millionaire real estate investors and what they do day in, day out that has resulted in high success. And I will tell you, it's going to be surprisingly unsurprising. So make sure you tune in, bring a friend, invite people, share this to your social media. We want to grow this channel and go back to our YouTube channel. We'll post this here in the next hour on YouTube.
Awesome.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. Albert, appreciate your time. Y'all be
Yeah.
blessed. Have a great week. Go get it.
Have a good one. Bye, y'all.
The